Get back! Step back now!
I can't breathe, please!
Hands behind your back! Do it now!
Hey,
Stop
calm
resisting!
down, calm down.
Put your hands behind your back!
I'm not, I
Quit
can't.
fighting it!
Man, just chill, alright?
Hands together! Now!
Alright.
Don't move!
The sun was still bright on that Tuesday afternoon in La Crosse, but for Officer Emmer, the calm of the neighborhood was about to end. He was slowly driving his patrol car down the street when he saw a group of people standing near a large tree. Among them was a large man wearing a blue sweatshirt. Emmer slowed down, his eyes narrowing as he looked through the windshield. He had seen that face before. He couldn't remember the name right away, but he knew those features from a previous police call. He pulled over and quickly checked his computer. The name Lindsay popped up, along with a list of active felony warrants. These weren't just small tickets, they were serious charges for heroin and dangerous weapons. Knowing that a man of Lindsay's size might not go quietly, Emmer didn't just jump out of the car. He stayed calm and pressed his radio button. 7682, I've got a gentleman here, Lindsay, he reported to dispatch. He asked for more officers to head his way, knowing he might need help to keep the scene safe for the kids playing nearby. Emmer stepped out of his vehicle and adjusted his gear. He made sure his body camera was ready to record the interaction. He started walking toward the group, trying to keep things professional. However, as he got closer, he noticed another man in a bright blue hoodie start to move toward him, almost as if he was trying to block the officer's path. Emmer ignored the distraction and kept his focus on the man in the blue sweatshirt. Lindsay, stay here. Stay here, he said firmly. He could feel the air getting thick with tension. The gentleman looked like he wanted to run, and the officer knew that once he made his move, there would be no going back. The hunt was about to begin. Officer Emmer walked closer, but Jackson didn't stay still. I'm telling you I'm not Lindsay, Jackson said, shaking his head and stepping back. He kept his hands low and looked toward the blue house, trying to act like the officer had made a huge mistake. Sergeant Becca Stone pulled up to the curb just a few seconds later, her tires crunching on the gravel as she jumped out to help. Even with two officers there, Jackson refused to listen. Put your hands behind your back right now, Emmer commanded, reaching for Jackson's arm. Jackson pulled away quickly, his face twisting with worry. No, I'm not. I'm not Lindsay, he repeated, his voice getting louder and more shaky. He wasn't just arguing anymore, his body was tense and ready to move. The man in the bright blue hoodie stayed close, watching every move the officers made. Sergeant Stone moved to the other side to keep Jackson from slipping away, but he kept turning his body to shield himself. Every time the officers tried to grab his hands, Jackson jerked back. He was acting like a person whose worst fear was coming true, and he was determined to prove the police wrong, even though they knew exactly who he was. The simple talk was over, and the situation was about to turn into a full-blown fight on the front lawn. The talk turned into a scramble in an instant. When Officer Stone reached for Jackson's other arm, he didn't just pull away, he lunged toward the blue house, trying to reach the door. The officers grabbed his sweatshirt, but Jackson was so big and strong that he kept moving, dragging them across the lawn. In the middle of the struggle, they crashed right into a heavy grill and a propane fire pit sitting on the patio. The sound of breaking glass filled the air as the fire pit tipped over. Jackson lost his balance and fell hard onto the sharp decorative stones and broken glass. The officers went down with him, trying to pin his arms while staying clear of the mess. Get on the ground. You're under arrest. Emmer shouted over the noise. Jackson was pinned near a green flower pot, his face pressed against the ground as he fought to keep his hands tucked under his chest. It was a messy, dangerous moment where everyone was at risk of getting hurt, and the peace of the neighborhood was completely gone. As Jackson lay pinned on the grass, he realized he couldn't win the physical struggle, so he started trying to win the crowd. He began shouting as loud as he could so the neighbors and the children watching would hear his version of the story. He just beat the out of me in front of these chairs and everybody, he yelled, pointing his chin toward the officer. Even though he had been the one pulling away and trying to run into the house, he made it sound like he was just a victim being attacked for no reason. I can't breathe. He's killing me, bro. Jackson screamed to the man in the blue hoodie standing nearby. He kept repeating that he was scared and that the officer had rammed his head into a brick on purpose. By crying out for help and acting like he was in deep pain, Jackson was creating a conflicting story to make the police look like the bad guys. He told anyone who would listen that he wasn't resisting and only wanted to sit down and catch his breath, trying to hide the fact that he was actually a wanted felon with serious warrants. Soon, the quiet street was filled with the sound of many sirens as the entire force began to arrive. While Jackson sat on the grass in handcuffs, more police cars and a fire department truck pulled up to the curb. Sergeant Stone called for an ambulance because Jackson kept complaining that he was dizzy and could not breathe well. The officers wanted to make sure he was okay, even though they believed his injuries were just scrapes from his own choice to resist. As the medics started to check Jackson's head and arms, the officers began to secure the area. They looked for the glass he had stepped on and checked the porch where the struggle had happened. Even though Jackson was still telling the medics that the police had beaten him, the scene was now under total control. The chaotic fight had turned into a busy medical checkup, with many officers standing guard to make sure nothing else went wrong. Jackson's attempt to run had failed, and now he was surrounded by the very people he had tried so hard to avoid. While the medics worked, Officer Emmer took a moment to speak with the other officers on the scene. He confirmed that his body camera had been recording from the very start, capturing the truth that Jackson was trying to hide. He explained to the sergeant that Jackson wasn't just some random person, he was a wanted felon with serious warrants for heroin intent and carrying a firearm. The officer's report was clear: Jackson had used the man in the blue hoodie as a shield and had fought against the arrest the entire time. Officer Emmer also pointed out that Jackson's injuries were unintentional and happened only because he chose to resist and pull away toward the house. The body cam footage would show that no one struck him or beat him as he had claimed to the neighbors. Instead of the simple talk the officer wanted, Jackson's choices had forced the entire force to step in. As the officers gathered the facts, it became clear that Jackson's victim story was falling apart under the weight of the tactical truths and the digital evidence. He wasn't a man being picked on, he was a dangerous runner who had finally been caught. The physical hunt ended on the grass, but the legal hunt was just beginning. Back at the station, Jackson was officially charged with serious crimes, including felony battery, threatening an officer, and resisting arrest while causing an injury. Because he had ignored his previous court orders, he was also charged with 2 counts of bail jumping. A judge looked at the evidence and set his cash bond at $5,000, ensuring he would stay in custody while the case moved forward. By December 2025, the weight of the digital evidence became too much for Jackson to fight. Realizing that the body cam footage clearly showed his resistance and the warrants were real, he entered a no-contest plea. This meant he accepted the punishment for resisting an officer and bail jumping without trying to argue his victim story any longer. While some of the other charges were dismissed, his transformation from a ghost on the run to a convicted felon was complete. Jackson's journey through the system is set to reach its final end on March 24, 2026, when he returns to the courtroom for his final sentencing. He learned the hard way that when the entire force is looking for you, the truth always catches up.